A few minutes ago, I spoke with the Business Secretary, Kwasi Kwarteng. And believe it or not, I also asked him whether he agreed with Samuel Kazemu that the government exploits cultural differences and engages in what we've just been talking about, culture wars, in a slightly cynical way to win votes.
But I don't really recognise Sam's portrayal of the government. Boris Johnson is Prime Minister in a cabinet which is the most ethnically diverse cabinet that we've ever had. And we're very focused on delivery. That's why we've got a strong majority, and we intend to use that majority to pass legislation that people want to see. For example, a strong immigration bill that can actually control immigration. We want to see tougher sentencing, which I noticed that the opposition voted against. And these aren't part of a culture wars. This is part of good government and actually delivering on a strong mandate. I
mean, we've done some polling on this issue. And as you point out, this is, I think, the most ethnically diverse cabinet in history.
Absolutely.
And yet, voters still trust Labour more when it comes to issues like, equality relating to the ethnic, the BAME community.
I think that's may well be true historically, but if you look at the trend, and it may even be true now.
According to the polling we've done now, Kwasi.
But if you look at the trend, Robert, and I've seen polling that you've tweeted, or people on your programme have tweeted, the number of people from black and Asian minority ethnic backgrounds voting Conservative is going up, while the huge majority that Labour had among the ethnic population is actually decreasing. So people are moving away from the Labour Party and supporting the Conservative Party from all backgrounds.
But now, if you are not, as a government, consciously, as I say, to sort of use his description, weaponising culture wars, why does the Home Secretary describe taking the knee as gesture politics?
Well, that was her view. I think Michael Gove, who, as you know, is a cabinet minister, expressed a different view.
Well, what's your view?
I think people should be allowed to express themselves. I think it's part of free speech. But again, I would say to you that we're focused on action. I'm not in the business of making a gesture, however heartfelt that may be. But we are focused on delivering jobs. As you know, I'm the business secretary.
But surely there are some gestures that are wrong. Surely you would say that fans who boo footballers who take the knee, that kind of gesture is just wrong, isn't it? Booing.
Look, I think that people... I wouldn't boo anybody for taking the knee.
But would you criticise fans who do?
All I'm saying is that there is a degree of free speech in this country. People are very free to express their opinions. Taking the knee clearly is expressing as a form of political expression, and
booing,
people are
and you think it's legitimate.
But
you think it's a legitimate form of expression to boo players who take the knee?
I wouldn't boo. I wouldn't myself.
No,
boo
you wouldn't. But we're asking what you think of others who do.
Who took the knee, and also you've got to look at the motivation. It's very difficult to see what the motivation is behind booers. There's been an assertion that they are racist. I think that's completely not the case in all cases.
But it will be the case in some cases, they won't it? So why wouldn't you stand up to them and say, you're wrong, stop it?
Because I don't think that saying how people react to a gesture is necessarily the job of my job as business secretary. I think people should be allowed, within the law, obviously, to express themselves in the way that they choose.
Well, let's move on to something that is your job as business secretary. Simon Woolley, who advised Theresa May, thinks companies should be forced to publish ethnic pay disparities. He thinks that will do a service towards narrowing those disparities. Why won't you do that?
So we're not going down that route. And I think my colleague, Liz Truss, was very clear about this. We are looking at all forms of extending opportunity.
But why do it on gender and not do it when it comes to ethnic? Because companies are forced to publish disparities when it comes to gender. Why not do it when it comes to ethnicity?
Again, we want to focus... We've done a huge amount on narrowing gaps between gender pay gap. We've done a huge amount in trying to empower black and Asian minority ethnic people. We've done it, as you say, it's the most diverse cabinet in British history. So we're actually doing things to try and level up opportunity.
Well, you're not doing this, though, are you?
Well, we're not publishing a race disparity pay figures, because we don't actually believe that this is probably the best way of actually dealing with this issue. OK. Now,
look, I want to move on to climate change. You will be aware that the Climate Change Committee has sent out a warning today that we are not keeping pace with the risks we face, and particularly when it comes to adaptation. They say, you know, there will be issues of extreme weather, changes in rainfall, and we are not protecting this country by investing what we need to.
I think the Committee on Climate Change is an excellent committee, and I speak to them fairly regularly, and I take what they say very seriously. What I will say, and they recognise this as well, is that there isn't a country, an advanced G7 country or any other country in the world that has set more ambitious targets, and not only set ambitious targets in the fight against climate change, but is actually acting upon
But they are. It's about delivery,
ambitions.
And they're saying you're not delivering enough.
Well, I would beg to differ. I think if you look at offshore wind, renewables, in this country, we have something like 35%.
But they say even if you do all of that,
forgive me.
You know, our landscape will be in danger. They say even if you do all of that, there are going to be changes to our climate that will be very destructive, and we have to prepare now.
Well, forgive me, if you'll allow me to answer your question. I think that we've done a great deal in driving offshore wind technology. I spoke to John Kerry only a couple of days ago, and he was very firmly of the view, and he was good enough to say this when he came to Britain, that Britain is at the forefront of the international collaboration fight against climate change.
You're a member of the Cabinet. If you read that the Prime Minister had called you totally effing hopeless, how would you feel?
I think I would be very interested to hear that that's what he thought. But of course, I am focusing on delivery. And in this particular instance, I think Matt Hancock has had an extremely impressive performance in terms of delivery. He's worked tirelessly. He's worked with great compassion, with great professionalism. I think he's an excellent colleague. And we're delivering. The vaccine doses is one of the best rollouts in the world, and I think we've done a reasonably good. He's certainly done an impressive job on that.
Kwasi, good to see you as always.
Thank you, Robert.